My name is Levin2K and I'm here with the Fan Forum. We have got a brilliant result on our hands today. Manchester United 1, Crystal Palace 0. The beginning of the Ralph Rangnick era. And who else but Pastor Fred to give us the win, right? Brilliant goal by Fred. And plenty to talk about in terms of the game. Definitely a tale of two halves. And so with my wonderful panelists, we will be breaking it all down for you. Speaking of my wonderful panelists, we've got Alex here. How you doing, Alex?
Yeah, not bad. Happy with the result. Got a bit nervy, but yeah, happy overall.
Yeah, always a pleasure to have you. And of course, Jordan, good to see you, my friend. I feel like we ain't spoken in a while, man, but good to see you.
I know. Yeah, you've been avoiding me, man, on these shows. Yeah, no, all good.
No, pleasure to have you. And no reason to avoid you. Of course, we also have the amazing Kevin Ashford here, as always. I always try to find something really nice to say about Kev, like how handsome he is or something. But today, I'm going to cool off of it. How are you doing today, Kev?
What an intro. How can I even respond to that? I always say to you, Levin, whenever you mention Kev Ashford and amazing in the same sentence, it does it for me, mate. I love you too. A United win, that's what we're here for.
Exactly. Smiles on everyone's faces. Someone who's always smiley. Jay, how are you doing today?
Hey, Levin, guys, how you doing?
Oh, it's gonna be a good one. Well, guys, let's kick off because everybody was very excited into this game. If you're from the UK, you would have been very pissed off that this game wasn't actually available to watch for most people. Of course, right? Ronaldo's debut, couldn't watch that. Ralph Rangnick's first game, couldn't watch that. But we'll do our best to sort of guide you through everything that happened. I'll come to you, Alex, because starting off, right, if we cycle the way back to the beginning, it was one of those things where going into the game, unchanged lineup, people were thinking, oh, no good whatsoever. We all know how this is going to end. Rangnick, are you sure it's not prime volleyball? What's going on here? But in that first half, we were scintillating. It was a brilliant performance. Some of the best football we've seen a Manchester United team play in ages.
Yeah, definitely. The pressing and everything was really good. I think they said on my stream anyway. Oh, sorry, my radio commentary that we were 16th in the league for pressing this season. So to go from what we had been under Ole this season to then pressing as well as we did in the first half, it was really great to see. It seemed to be to me anyway. The first game we've fully controlled this season, but as it went on and we hadn't scored yet, I was kind of worried, and it did take I saw someone tweet saying, "Oh, I can't believe Ralph Rangnick relies on individual brilliance to win a game with that screamer from Fred." But yeah, overall it was just really good. It was I was talking to someone before the game, and they said that it's our first clean sheet we've kept since April. At Old Trafford, which is an absolutely mental stat, and it shows how bad we've been defending. So it was a really good thing. I don't think, apart from that one chance from, I can't remember his name, but Awaya, what's it called? You know who I mean? The Crystal Palace forward, Jordan Ayew, sorry. Yeah.
I was thinking, who were you saying? Ayew? I didn't know who you were talking about. Jordan Ayew.
That one, Jordan Ayew. Apart from that one clear-cut chance that he had, they didn't really trouble us all game. And it's Lindelof and Maguire both were solid. I thought a special shout out to Tellers and Delo, because obviously they've been thrown in with Wan-Bissaka and Shaw both being out, but the way I see it, I don't know about you guys, we have a new manager. Delo and Tellers have played well the last two games, and it's not like Wan-Bissaka and Shaw have set the world alight this season. So from my perspective, I'd say that the places are theirs until they give any reason otherwise.
Yeah, I think we will get to Delo and Tellers because there was plenty to talk about in regard to them and the way they performed. I'll come to you, Jordan. I tried my best not to overreact to things I was seeing early on, but almost straight away, you could sort of see the change in formation of 4-2-2, the fullbacks bombing on, providing that width. It definitely looked very different. What did you make of that first half? What sort of surprised you? What impressed you, considering it was the same players that played, under Carrick and Ole most of the time?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I thought there might have been one or two changes, but I wasn't overly surprised that there was none. I think it's with the game midweek, that's going to give players the opportunity to come in and for Rangnick to see what they're about. But given the fact the Carrick trilogy of not losing a game, I didn't think he was going to make massive changes. I think what we saw in the first half was some of the best football, like I said, that we've seen us play for a long, long time. And what limited us was literally just our energy levels. I think we were asking certain players to play well above their normal work rate. So naturally that was going to drop off. But what we could see in our first half is the vision of where he wants to take us. And I think he has to, like we keep saying, everyone gets a clean slate. Certain players played much better than they've played previously. Like talking about the fullbacks, I thought they had a great game. Lindelof looks like a new man. I don't know how. Maguire again, hasn't been in the greatest of forms, but can't just dig a player out just for the sake of digging him out. I don't think he played badly today. I think he played well. So much more attacking. On another day, Ronaldo would have scored a hat-trick. I don't think he had any amazing chances, but just had more chances than we've normally created. So I think there's a lot of optimism to go forward to. I think the most important thing today was to get the results, to be able to give him more of a chance to work with the squad. And ultimately, we got there in the end. Fredinho, you talk about the personification of new beginnings. Fred, I can't believe my eyes. He's just, he's he is a new man. And I know that's something, Levin, you always said about, we were playing him in the wrong position and asking him to do the wrong role, and putting him in the right positions, we would get a lot more out of him. And that was something that you always said. And at the time, I couldn't really see it, but I definitely can start to see where we can go with Fred. Really good stuff. Good.
I just saw someone call him Fredgar Davis in chat. Fredinho, Fredgar Davis. There's going to be plenty of them popping around. Look, as brilliant as that first half seemed to be, Kev, we weren't able to get that goal out of it, and it was Fred that sort of came to the rescue. He was obviously one of the people that was, relatively impressive throughout that game. What did you make about the players' performances? Of course, an opportunity for people to prove themselves. I think we all know there's going to be that element of a bounce and people trying to, get themselves on the first name on the team sheet for Rangnick. Was there anybody else that you really thought stood out beyond, Fred's masterclass goal?
Yeah, I think it's only natural that you will get that bounce, new manager and all that comes in. But for a first half of football, considering it was 0-0 at half-time, which obviously you wouldn't have wanted, as a United fan, you would wanted to be leading at half-time. I'd go down as to say that it's probably the best 45 minutes we've played this season. And that's barring, we beat Leeds, Newcastle, we've had performances where we've scored goals, but as a 0-0 at half-time, I thought it had absolutely everything. The statistics were there to prove it. The most touches in the opposition box, you want to look down stat-wise like that. And it was interesting to watch. And for the first time in a very long time, I can't even remember, we played on the front foot from the start. 3 minutes in, couple of corners, we're going for it. I'm used to this kind of Solskjaer, where it's basically us backs against the walls at that stage. So for me today, it was exciting. I think we all knew that certain players were going to step up. Yes, Fred, absolutely unbelievable. Really impressed. And Alex touched on it then with Dalot and Tellez. I thought Dalot was brilliant today. And I think it really, really does give the likes of Luke Shaw and Aaron Wan-Bissaka something to talk about or even think about as Manchester United players. Their places in this team will come under threat. And we've seen that Rangnick has mentioned Luke Shaw previously when he wasn't even United manager, saying that Luke Shaw's a bit of a weak point at Manchester United. And Wan-Bissaka is not safe from this now at all. Dalot's not there to make the numbers up. He's come back from AC Milan where he had a good loan spell. And I think he'll be looking at this now and thinking, this is my opportunity. I'm going to grab it. But great win today. Obviously, on paper, you look at it and you think 1-0 against Crystal Palace, we should be beating them. But positivity, you can only gain positivity from that. It's the same team that started midweek. And for me, there was major improvements in it from what I've seen. So very happy.
Yeah, it's funny because I did notice at the end of the game, right, when Rangnick was going around, sort of high-fiving players, shaking people's hands, he was sort of being reserved. And maybe I'm just overanalyzing this, but when he got to Dalot and Tellez, he was very much like, well done, guys. Like, before with other people, it was just sort of like, yeah, good job. Yeah. But with them two, it was like, I really like what I saw there. You know what I mean? So something to watch out for in terms of who will be playing in those fullback positions. I'll come to you, Jay, now, because in that first half, look, everybody knows that was a brilliant first half by us. We weren't able to get that goal, and I know a lot of people will probably be looking at that, and we will talk more about that in terms of the attacking chances we created and how we can get better at that. But when it comes to defensively, right, if you look at this season, Jay, we've conceded 7 goals in the first 30 minutes of games, and you know, that's really bad, like worse than a lot of other teams in the Premier League, especially the teams we want to be competing with. And to be able to actually just not even concede in that first half an hour, I think was a big deal, because that's something we've done plenty of so far this season. Was there anything in that first half that you think has sort of maybe gone under the radar and think people should maybe appreciate more, considering we didn't maybe get, you know, the goal and go ahead there?
You just provide me with the perfect segue there with that stat. 7 goals conceded in the first 30 minutes. Today, we got 7 corners in the first 32 minutes. What a contrast is that? If you look at Ferguson teams from way back when, it's so long ago now, but it was always the first 2, 3, 4 minutes, get up the pitch and force a corner at least and get the crowd up. I think we had a corner today within 2 minutes, and then the crowd straight away get up and they're up for it. Some stats, guys, because we're going into stats today. First half, we had 12 shots. Second half, we had 4 shots. All right. First half today, we had 308 passes. In total in the game, we had 527. So second half today, we had 115 passes. First half, we had 308. We had 9 corners in total, 7 were in the first half. So that's testament to the drop-off that we had in the second half. And I'm reading into that saying, and I said it on all the shows, the players are simply not fit enough to play Rangnick's explosive, high-pressing football initially. He's got a lot of work to do on their fitness levels to play this game for 90 minutes. You cast your mind back to when Klopp took over Liverpool side. It took him a good season and a half to get the players up to the fitness levels to play, quote unquote, rock and roll, gegenpress, whatever time you want to put on it. It's not going to happen overnight. But if the first half hour, 35 minutes today is an insight into what we're going to see between now and May, guys, I'm all for it. A drop off you would expect. The first half, none of those chances for me were real clear-cut chances. I know there's shots and there are shots, but they weren't clean cut. You can't say that Bruno or Ronaldo in the first half missed a sitter. They didn't. They weren't clean cut. Crystal Palace didn't fade into the night and give up. Second half, Crystal Palace did get in the ball more. They reverted back into a 4-4-2 type, and we had to break them down. And that's something that obviously we got to work on, breaking teams down to 4-4-2. And then of all the players in the pitch, the much maligned Fred to get us 3 points. we gotta give credit, all the credit in the world today. He's been involved now in goals in 3 matches in a row. We gotta give him credit. But look, I'm not going to get drunk on emotional sentiments. That's not my way. Marcus Rashford was crap today. Scott McTominay was dog shit as usual. A lot of you are giving Maguire's flowers. Maguire and Lindelof today didn't have to do very, very much. Okay, for me today, the 2 standouts are Telles and Delo. A lot of pundits won't pick up on the fact that now, at a free kick, you've got Bruno Fernandes, Telles, and Ronaldo standing over a free kick. So you're the goalkeeper thinking, hang on a second, which of these 3 are going to shoot on me? And if you look as well, all the dead balls from the left-hand side today were taken by Telles, as were the corners. Before we signed Telles, he had the highest assist rate in the Portuguese first division. He comes into us and he hasn't had the opportunity to up those stats. I know you're going to say it's apples and oranges, don't compare Portugal League to the Premiership. But guys,
look at Bruno,
the manager. But think about it, right? Yeah, but he's a left back. So if you're the manager, you're thinking, okay, I now not in possession can play my 4-2-2. I've got 2 attacking left backs. And Delo today, how composed and confident was Delo on the ball? His composure. Now, Rangnick said, what did he say? His key word there, he says, is control. So normally, when you see a Wan-Bissaka on the ball and he's going forward, it's not control, it's chaos. Today, you saw Delo on the ball going forward. How many of you were thinking, no, he's going to lose it. No, he's going to pass back. No, he won't cross. No, you're thinking, he's going to do something with it here. And the same on the left. So if you're the manager, you're looking at that. Okay, I've got 2 composed fullbacks. Not in possession. I can play my 4-2-2. My centre-backs, who are dodgy, I know it's Crystal Palace, but didn't have to do a whole lot today. So you're looking at that thinking, hang on. Okay, do I really want to bring Luke Shaw and Anwar Bissaka back in? No, I don't. But Rashford and Mctominay are the weak links. No question for me.
Well, before we move on, I do want to address some of the things you said there. I just want to say
that's unbelievable, man.
Jay, how have you do this? Man, I felt really good coming into this. You've just
Same. Look, we'll get on to it. I want to say
how
to
does
Zane,
Zayn have that much money?
Look, I just want to address Zane real quick. Zane, beating Crystal Palace isn't for everybody in it, so just allow me to all the talk.
Hold that
£175.
Did you just see
Zane,
how much money
big
that
respect.
was?
Thanks for super chat, Zane. Thanks for super chat.
Allow me with all the talk, but again, we do appreciate the super chat. Be sure to get them coming. Thank you for joining the members club as well. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Look, I think it's a weird one because there are definitely things you can look at to improve, and I touched on the attacking efficiency earlier, right? We did create a lot of shots, but they weren't efficient chances. They weren't really, great chances for us to score from. And I almost think we've partly been blinded by just how good that first half was, because I looked at that first half and I saw a lot of things that were reminiscent of like good Rangnick teams. You saw a lot of the ideas and philosophies he's discussed actually implemented in terms of how we were pressing, the way we were controlling the game out of possession and in possession. Like in that first half, even when we didn't have the ball, Crystal Palace couldn't do anything. We had full control, right? And those are some of the things like Rangnick talks a lot about. And I thought for a second to myself, he's only had 1 training session.
Exactly.
I don't believe this. Like, a part of me thought, I feel like it almost is like it's coincidence that the players are playing this good, because how has he been able to do all this in just 1 training session? And I think that's why I cut a bit of slack on the fact that a lot of the chances we were actually creating weren't efficient, because, on top of everything that clearly had been worked on in training, to then work on, patterns in attack and how to make those better, I feel like would have been hard. Like, it's unreasonable. And that's why I think a lot of people should be looking forward now more so, into the games we have coming up, because he will have time to work on these things going forward. And to address some of the weak links and the weak spots in our squad, look, I definitely think there are some players who took their opportunity better than others today, right? I'm not going to lie and say that's not the case. But at the same time, I think we will start to run into some of the same old problems that we had even with Oli, where it's like certain personnel. So, for example, the McTominay one is going to be one I want to ask you guys about. Look, McTominay didn't have as great of a game as some of the other players on the pitch, but ultimately, I think Rangnick will struggle to find, much replacement there in terms of the type of player he wants in that position.
Come on, listen, Levin.
Until we get the January transfer window, I just think that's the case.
Mattis is levels above, though.
There's a pattern. There's a pattern of play.
Should have came on.
Listen, you're saying there about McTominay. Come on, call a spade here, for God's sake. It's a pattern of play in the 47th minute, right? Palace are on the attack. Tellez wins the ball, stops the counter-attack, passes to Mctominay. Mctominay has a simple pass to Delo. McTominay passed the ball to the play. And then we cannot counter-attack on Palace. And we've got numbers on them. Call a spade and McTominay for once, Levin, for God's sake.
And I remember that, and I'm not going to sit here and to say call a spade. I've called out McTominay's poor performances plenty of time.
But today, we win, and he's a weak link. He's a weak link.
He was bad today.
Seriously, he's a weak link. He's a weak link.
I'm not denying that, Jay. I'm just saying, look, he wasn't as good as other players on the day. Like, what do you have a problem with that? That's true.
Listen, Levin, saying he's not as good. That's been wishy-washy.
Do you agree?
He was a 4 out of 10. He was a 4 out of 10.
I don't think it was a 4
If Fred today was a 7.5 out of 10, and Scott's a 4, How can you say he's not as good? He was
But
below
wait,
par.
I don't think you understand what I'm trying to get across here. I'm not denying he was bad, but I'm not
Oh,
going to
I
just
do,
sit there
I
and
do.
go, I'm not going to sit there and just go, oh, yep, he's rubbish. He's a 3 out of 10. Look, he wasn't as good, right? I thought in the first half he was a bit better. He wasn't amazing, but he was a bit better in the first half. Second half, yeah, he was bad. Like, I'm not denying that. But to sit there, because I'm not going, oh, fuck, he was, I'm not going to sit there and castrate him. Yeah, he was bad. Like, cool. He wasn't as good as other people. That's fine.
He's not.
I think, Levin, I think to say he wasn't good is a gross understatement. To be honest,
Yeah,
with you.
it's just
understatement.
if we had no one on the bench that's better, then fair enough. But I just find like I said on last show that people say about, or that Ollie, sorry, not people, was like always going on about, oh, we need like legs and energy in midfield. But then if you look at Mctominay, doesn't like provide. He's not like a Fred when it comes to energy, and like Matic is just so many levels above in every single sense. And okay, you can say the age, but then could you also say that he hasn't had a run of games to get into form? But I just find when I watch Matic play and I watch McTominay play, it's like literally that it's chalk and cheese, like how many levels above Matic is than McTominay.
And I do think it was surprising that Matic didn't come on, right? Because I know there were a lot of people calling in that second half for changes to be made. And that was actually something I wanted to talk about because it didn't feel like, I know Mark on his watch along was talking about, where are the subs right now? This is starting to look like some of the stuff we saw with Ollie, where there's just not been as many subs. And I did think we started to lose control. In the first half, I think the main thing you'd use to describe that performance was control. Like we just had complete control and we started to lose that and it slipped in the second half. And I think in the past, when we've seen that slip for us in games, you would have brought on a Matic or someone of that nature and that didn't seem to happen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and what Rangnick does moving forward with that. And I'll come to you now, Jordan, on what you thought about it, because I know I've cut you off a couple of times and I know you've wanted to say something here, but yeah, I think we could have seen better performances. We could have seen better control in that second half. Maybe the players were a bit gassed, right? I think that's something to talk about in terms of can they handle that high intensity style for 490? But yeah, it wasn't great in that second half.
Yeah, I just on the McTominay point, I think he is limited as a player, and it's for Rangnick to give his philosophy on how he wants to play the game, for Rangnick to see for himself that actually, even with coaching, this player is not going to be able to deliver what I want him to deliver. So I'm not surprised that he started, and I'm sure a Matic or a Van de Beek will start midweek, and then gradually over the next 2-3 games, McTominay will come out of the team. I think that will naturally happen. I think there are better options within the squad. We know they are because we watched every single game. For Rangnick, he's looked at it. Carrick's played 3 games, hasn't lost all those games, so he's going to start the same team. I think he will naturally see that McTominay is really limited. I don't think he was appalling today like he has been in other games, but I still don't think he was good. So that was my point on that. In terms of the energy, again, I think it's about Rangnick seeing how far he can push certain players with the energy levels. I think we could see that it had dropped off. I wanted changes from probably on the 60th minute. And when, he only made the one change, I looked at him and thought, oh God, are we going down this route again where we're not making changes? And I think, we are asking the players to deliver a lot more of a work rate than ever before. The one thing I wanted to say is, I don't know if you remember when Ollie came in and took over from Mourinho, the one thing he said about was that how he was surprised at how unfit the players were and how their running stats weren't great. And that was the one thing he wanted us to be, was this, the fittest team in the league. And what happened to that? Because you look at the players today and a lot of them were gassed by half time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do think a part of that is just the adjustment. Like, it's always a big conversation when it comes to the preseason you have is, almost preparation for the level and the intensity you have throughout the year. And it's clear that that's not going to match up, right? Like, I feel like you wouldn't see those kind of problems if Rangnick was here, for example, from the start of, preseason. Kev, I'll come to you in terms of, the midfield and what you do to approach that, because we spent a lot of time talking about McTominay here. I feel like you're a fan of McTominay from previous conversations. Yeah, but
Don't set me up, Alex.
I was just making sure you didn't try to duck out and be like, no, what are you talking about? People have watched the show before, they know you.
Yeah. I'll come to you then in terms of what you would do and how you go about it. And what did you think of the midfield performance today, actually?
I thought McTominay was abysmal. If I've got to be totally honest, I can't sit here now. Listen, in the past, maybe about a year ago, McTominay and Fred looked like a half decent duo in the midfield, and I'm looking at McTominay and I'm thinking, what a player this lad is. And I think I even went as far as to say he'd probably be, Man United captain in the future or whatever. I might have had a glass of red wine, maybe that show or whatever. I got a bit excited and a bit giddy, so I take everything back I ever said about that. I'm just glad it didn't get clipped up, but I think just recently he looks totally lost. And even in a system like that today, which from the off was high pressing, and it was interesting to see it because we were closing down. Crystal Palace sort of played into it. They're not good enough to play out from the back. They tried doing it. And from United's perspective, it was like, as long as Ronaldo's up top, pressing, Bruno Fernandes, we just sort of pinned them in. So it was only a matter of time before they scored. But McTominay, I can't sit here and defend him. I can't do that. I think everybody watches football. If everybody's watched that game, or like Alex listened to it on the radio today, you'll know that he was not good enough. And it comes back to the old argument of why didn't Manchester United address this situation in the summer transfer window? Because Matic is levels above McTominay, but Matic can't last 90 minutes. What does that say? We are lightweight. We've been choosing these two players for the last, 3 years? And McTominay is walking into that team at the minute. I don't think he's there on merit, but Rangnick's got to look at that now, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's a football expert. He knows exactly what will be happening, and he will look at that midfield area. Even us, we know that by talking about it today, that we look at the midfield area and go, this is a problem area and it needs addressing. It's just how he goes through it. But I will say another thing very interesting today. Big call, Rashford coming off for Elanga. He's not messing about here, is he? He's rocked up. I don't think Solskjaer would have, or even Carrick would have made a call like that today. So a surprising call, and probably one of many that I would expect at Manchester United under this new regime.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned Rashford because, Rashford was somebody who coming into this game was criticised for even getting a chance to start because he just hasn't been in great form. He's not been, good whatsoever recently. And I think this game as well was another example where he didn't have his best game. Now, of course, Elanga came in and from the reports we've received, apparently Rangnick was really impressed by Elanga in the few training sessions he's had. And of course, we already know there's plenty of competition for those spaces as well. Is this going to be something you think we see now? I'll come to you, Alex, here. Of course, Cavani eventually is going to be coming back from injury. Rashford's, going to be in contention always. Martial, he has a big sort of couple of months now moving forward. Ronaldo, who I thought was great in the first half, but wasn't as involved in the second half like many players. There's going to be so much competition. What would you go for in those positions right now?
Well, if we're going to stick with the 4-2-2-2, it's without saying, I've said on the show so many times that I feel like our best team has Cavani and Ronaldo in it. And that's what really excited me, that he did go with this formation, because I feel like as soon as Cavani's back, if he ever comes back, it seems so long that since he's played for us. But when he's back in the team, I feel like we have to start then Cavani and Ronaldo. But then you could still feel like I saw with how Sancho was playing today, that he was kind of like further behind them, and they're like, it's like they'd be the wingers, but they're not really like wingers. So it would be like Bruno and Sancho behind them. So I feel like if you played Cavani, Ronaldo with Bruno and Sancho providing the creativity, I think that could get some really good results. And like then you'd have Delo and Telles providing the width, which I think it can really pay dividends. And like if Rangnick is this like gegenpress manager that loves pressing, what player apart from Fred in the team can press anywhere near as good as Cavani can? And so that's what's really exciting. I feel like the team today, like the starting 11, it was like he hasn't really had I don't think we say how he had the one training session, but I think that training session was with players that hadn't really that didn't start the other day. I don't think he's even had one full training session with the first team, has he?
No, I think he had one without the players who played, and then he had one with everyone. So it's only one with everyone, yeah.
Okay, so then he's had one with like the first team, but so you can't really take much stock. And again, you won't be able to take much stock in the young boys game. But we have Brighton next, right? That's the game that we can really start taking stock. And I don't think any of the big players will be back, like Pogba, Varane, and Cavani. But it will be interesting to see who he picks. Like, a lot of people are expecting Van der Beek to come into the team under Rangnick, which I'm not necessarily thinking, especially if he's going to play this 4-2-2 thing. But I think if Rashford keeps up his current performances, that Mason could potentially replace him in the front line until Cavani's back.
It's funny, you keep giving me the good segues here. Mason is always someone who's talked about in regard to maybe not being a pass first kind of person, maybe not getting his head up enough. And of course, he provided the assist for Pastor Fred. Mason's obviously another person who typically is like linked as being like a striking option, right? Like, he long term is going to be the guy that's a striker. He actually came on for Sancho in that game, Jordan, and I'll come to you on this. One, did you think that Sancho, substitution was actually, the right thing? Because a lot of people weren't sure about it. I think a lot of people expected it to be Rashford that came off. That would have probably been the right thing to do from our perspective. Though it was Greenwood that came on, and he wasn't actually playing up front. He was playing in one of those sort of, cam roles.
Yeah. I was a bit shocked by that substitution. I actually felt like Sancho played well and probably energy levels still had a bit more in him. Rashford, for me, would have been the one that got dragged. I am slightly, I said this on the last show, concerned about Rashford. It just doesn't seem himself. And I'm not sure if this system is going to get the best out of him, to be honest. I think it needed legs, but that for me was probably the only thing I felt like Rangnick got wrong today was that Sancho substitution.
Yeah, interesting. I think I wonder how we sort of know the hierarchy that like Oli had in terms of who would play, right? And I think starting to understand what that is for Rangnick in terms of who are the strikers and like attacking wingers, at least that he wants to play, is going to be interesting to try to figure out. Jay, when it comes to, sort of the attacking combinations, you talked about, the weak links you have right now. I'll come to you. We obviously have the Young Boys game coming up, and I think a lot of people see it as a throw. I don't know if it's a throw game, but it's a game to experiment and to test things and give certain players a run out. What would you do in terms of patching those up, in terms of the personnel, who you'd like to bring in and who you'd like to see come in to the sort of system we played in that first half?
Well, first of all, I would agree with what Jordan said. Sancho coming off for Greenwood on 61st minute, I was scratching my head a little bit about it. I felt that Rashford would have been the first player from the front three that I would have taken off, because Rashford looked out on his feet after 50 minutes. So regarding the Young Boys game, if it's on the assumption that Rangnick is going to stay with the 4-2-3-1, pushing into 4-2-2, I wouldn't be adverse to now. How far does anybody in the chat know how far off Cavani is from actually starting again? Does anybody know? Because I genuinely don't.
I don't either.
I don't even think he's back in training yet. So
okay, fair enough.
Like
so if we're taking that Young Boys game as a quote unquote free hit, I would like to see Greenwood start in the head of that two with Ronaldo, just to see how does Greenwood play off Ronaldo. I think that would be a very interesting dynamic. Then on the right, for me, Sancho picks himself. On the left, lads, clearly Rangnick rates Elanga a hell of a lot. I start him on the left. I'd start him, absolutely. Why not? He's nothing to lose. And obviously then we were all crying out to see the one combo we haven't seen thus far is Fred and Donny in that midfield. So yeah, I wouldn't be versed to that. The back four, again, I'm still would like to see Eric Bailly back on his side. I know obviously now Maguire has the head injury, looks like it needs stitches. So maybe Bailly comes back in beside Lindelof. And on Lindelof today, I know on a lot of shows I called out Lindelof for his lack of physicality, but today Lindelof for me committed his best foul ever for the club. 98th minute, that foul that he made on Saka, proper tactical foul, and gave away a free kick to stop the counter attack. So for the one time only, I'm giving Lindelof a bit of credit today.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because I think a lot of people, I remember where he got the foul and he sort of like instantly walks away because he knew as well, right? Like he instantly sort of knew like, yeah, that's a foul, it's a bad tackle, but those are the kind of tackles you want to see people make. And yeah, Maguire did look like he actually had a bad, it looked like he was like bleeding and stuff. It looked really bad. I'm surprised he actually stayed on the pitch, but.
Yeah, and you would think though, a head injury protocol would dictate that he should go off for that.
Especially if what's happened to Shaw.
Think.
Yeah.
Van der Beek was on the
anyway.
touchline thinking like, oh, I'm finally going to get my chance. And I was thinking like, oh God, imagine if he's just about to come on and then because Bailly was like standing right behind him about to come on.
But he still would have been able to come on because it would have counted as a concussion sub, right? So
Exactly.
I forgot.
I was very surprised.
Yeah, I forgot
It's a free
rule,
sub.
Yeah, I forgot that rule. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't understand why that happened. Well, you mentioned our man, Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo. I saw what did somebody call him on March Shotchalong? So I think someone called him like Prestiano Ronaldo because he was pressing today and people didn't think he was capable of it. Look, a lot of questions, before Rangnick actually ever became official about whether or not Ronaldo would be able to play for him. He came in his press conference, spoke incredibly highly of him. Ronaldo looked good, especially in that first half. He looked, very active and was involved in why we were able to keep control out of possession. I don't know about you guys, but I think this could be really good. He was doing a great job of sort of being like what I'm about to say. Be careful what I'm about to say here, but he looked like Yusuf Poulsen for Leipzig times 10. Like he was just like the target man. Like we were just lobbing balls up to Ronaldo, and he did a really good job of just like always controlling it and being able to play off. And unluckily, we didn't get any big chances out of it, but that's clearly something that is going to be, really key for us moving forward. Look, I'll come to you straight away here, Alex, because you're someone who, for some reason, people think you don't like Ronaldo. Even though I know that's not the case, but Cristiano Ronaldo, what did you think?
I put at the end of the game that the biggest myth going around this season is Ronaldo's lack of work rate. And he's actually shocked me with his work rate since coming in. And I don't think he's going to be like the sort of Cavani type presser, but he really can do a job. And it's never that I don't like Ronaldo. I said that Cavani should start over him if we were playing a single striker, but now seeing some of the stuff he doesn't even need half a chance and he scores most of the time. So I've always said now that the best team we can play is Cavani and Ronaldo, and playing this formation, it literally works perfectly to complement them. And with Cavani's pressing and everything, and you need to have Ronaldo in the team, and it's like the numbers he's put up this season for a 36-year-old. I think it's like 12 goals, 2 assists now, and it's now in 17 games. But he hasn't even started all those games, and it's just absolutely unreal. Like the amount he's tracked back for his age. Like we got Zlatan, and Zlatan was 35. I was just thinking as you were talking there about that, and it's like Zlatan, you would never have imagined him going all the way back, and he wouldn't have tracked back like that. But you saw Ronaldo was in the I don't take the notebook and stuff, but it was the 80th minute or something that Ronaldo was sprinting back trying to cover his flank and stuff. So his work rate has been absolutely brilliant, and it's only going to improve. I feel like we're saying how the team isn't fit enough and how they'll fade in the latter stages of the game. I don't know if you'll be able to get someone who's such an athletic freak anyway to be able to improve his fitness, because I say so old, not so old, but so old in football terms, but his work rate has been brilliant, and we just need to play to his strengths, and you have to find a way to fit him into the system. He's not going to be like a Firmino type striker that's going to constantly press, but you can work around the team without him pressing if the rest of the team does.
Jordan, what did you make of his performance? How did you feel he fit in, and do you think that there's much to work on? I know a lot of people in chat are talking about the fact that he did lose position a couple times, and maybe that's cause for concern. But all in all, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I said the other day that if the rest of the team do what they're supposed to do, then it takes the pressure off of the best player in the world needing to run around like a headless chicken, shutting down doors all over the pitch. As I said, he only needs a half chance to score, and in that first half, on another day, he could have scored a hat trick. There's chances there. So I was thinking about midweek, the Champions League game on Wednesday. He shouldn't really play, and you would play Greenwood up there. But he has missed the Champions League, and he's looking at young boys. He's looking at that, and he wants to score goals. Who's going to tell him that he's not playing that game? he can run riot against them. So yeah, I don't have any concerns. I really agree with Alex. I said before that for me, having two players as good as Cavani and Ronaldo, you have to find a way to get them both on the pitch. And if the system that we had set up today, I think that's with the two up top, you can play Ronaldo and Cavani. And for me, that then gives the work rate of someone up top shutting people down, and then Ronaldo there to convert some of those chances. So yeah, I'm really excited about seeing those two when fit in this new formation.
Yeah, I think it's exciting times, man. I don't know. I think overall, I think there are definitely things we could have done better in that. But when you look at some of the things we did differently, even when it comes to that backline, and Jay, I know you referenced it earlier when you talked about Maguire and Lindelof, and I'll come to you, Kevin, get your thoughts on it. They didn't have much to do, but one thing that really impressed me was the fact that a lot of the time they would cut out a lot of the potential problems they'd have by stepping out and helping in terms of closing that pitch and making it so that Crystal Palace really didn't have much room. And you saw where Vieira had to adjust to Vieira in the second half. They came out and they were a lot wider and they tried to stretch the pitch a bit more. But overall, you could definitely see the tweaks that were there, right? Even from the defensive line, considering they didn't have to do much.
De Gea had nothing to do, did he?
Sorry. Go ahead, Kev.
Sorry, I was going to say De Gea literally could have got a deck chair out today, centre circle, cigar the lot, and sat there. Did he have one save to make? I cannot remember. I think
in the first half he had like one or two, but it wasn't any big saves. No,
literally. But that for me is testament to the game plan for today. We've come under severe pressure, or we would have under previous managers, and today, I think it was just refreshing more than anything just to see us cruise through that. And the contrast from the Arsenal game is that Rangnick comes out and says it was entertaining to watch United win 3-2, but that's not the way I want to do things. So if you look on theory of things, okay, on paper, you look at Arsenal 3-2, God, that must have been a classic if you didn't watch the game. Whereas today you see 1-0. 1-0 is a better result than 3-2. Conceding 2 goals at Old Trafford today, it's a better result. But all round the football and everything that we've seen today compared to the Arsenal game, I thought we were, dominant in large parts of it. Sorry to cut you off there, Jay.
No, it's okay. No, that's totally fine. I summed the back four display today vis-a-vis against Arsenal. Today was control. I feel against Arsenal at times it was chaos. That's what I felt. It was chaos. Hence why it was 3-2 victory. And I'd rather win 1-0 every week with control than be 2-2 with 10 minutes to go, hoping can we nick this or shit myself, are we going to concede? So guys, give me control every week, 3 points. I'll take that. So that back four today, Maguire and Lindelof today didn't put a foot wrong because they were never really under pressure. And that was testament to how well Delot and Telles played. Like you see very often with the dynamic between Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka. Like, we discussed in many shows, is Lindelof been put out of position to protect Wan-Bissaka, or is Wan-Bissaka been put out of position to protect Lindelof? Today, there was none of that. Because Delot had pressed up so high, he actually wasn't never out of position. And defensively, Delot, guys, I know on previous shows, Delot's been called out for his defensive frailties, but maybe the fact that he just now plays to an actual game plan, that you see the best of Delot. Now, look, Delot might come along in 2 games' time and prove me wrong. I'll be calling him out, but over the last 2 games, he's a surefire starter for Tuesday night.
Would you actually play him though on Tuesday? Because considering we're clean through already, it's like who cares?
No,
like we're top. Nothing can happen that means we're not top though. So would you actually?
I personally play Telles and Delot because the two of them have been starved of game time for so long. I would definitely play them 100%.
True.
Yeah, I think it will do a lot for their confidence as well. They've had 2 good back-to-back games and then getting another run out as well. It's mad. When was the last time Delot, I'm sure someone in chat will know, like, when was the last time Delot started back-to-back Premier League games? Like, it must be.
I don't think he ever has.
Has he ever? In fact, that's an even better question. Yeah. Has he ever
started interesting one.
Premier League games? That is one that I'd love to find out if anybody can get us info on that. I'll come right back to you on this, Jay, because You said it, I've said it, I think we've all somewhat said it in some way. The word to describe this game in terms of the improvement was control. Like, we did a much better job of controlling, and, you know, Rangnick emphasized that in his press conference, so it probably should have been the one thing we were expecting the most of. Moving forward, what are the words you now want to hear in terms of describing our performances? I think for me, I'd like to be able to say efficient after, you know, one of our next couple games. It was control today. What would you like to hear moving forward after Young Boys, or what's our next Premier League game? Is it
Brighton?
Right? Is it Brighton?
I think it's Brighton.
No, it's Norwich. I think it's Norwich.
Oh, okay.
I'll expand on the word that you used there. You said efficiency. I'll say German Teutonic efficiency. That's what I'll say. There was an ad years ago. It was a Volkswagen. I know Kevin Ashford is dying to do a German accent. What was it, Kevin? You know the tagline. You know that Kevin Rash knows the tagline. Was it Wolfsburg something Technik? Remember that from Volkswagen?
Yeah. Vorsprung durch Technik.
That's it. Kevin Ashford, off you go. Queuing you up. Go.
Go. Vorsprung durch Technik.
Okay, boom. Okay. So, Levin, if we can get that over the next 10 games, okay, and drag ourselves back in the top 4, I'll be very, very happy individual. If you look at our run of games coming up, we don't, okay, I know it's easy to say we don't have a hard fixture, but looking at it, the next really tough fixture will be whoever we draw in the Champions League in February. But in the Premiership, looking at Man City in March. Now, again, on paper. So I know we have to park the record that we've had up to now, because that's in the past and that's by the by. But we have 8, 9, 10 games coming up where that German efficiency that I think we're going to be using at phrase an awful lot, and Kevin Ashford is going to have his German perfected now for subsequent shows. So, Evan, I'm going to go with your word as well. Efficiency. That's what I want to see.
Kev, the German himself.
Control. That's what I want. I want control of football games. I want to be able to steer through. Like today, I think we're totally in control of that today. Do you know what's funny? I take time out every now and again, and I just look through the comment section, and I've just seen somebody saying Ronaldo was crap today, and I was looking at you lot to see if anybody's seen it, and I'm thinking, is this person trolling, or were they listening to it on the radio, or did they watch the game today? I'm like, Ronaldo was pivotal to Manchester United today, and you're all correct in saying on another day could have had a hat-trick. He didn't, but his work rate and everything else, some of the headers he won, the knockdown for Bruno Fernandes, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I don't understand what that person was watching. I missed the name then, but somebody just said Ronaldo was crap today.
Messi.
Breathe it in.
Messi fan. I love how it's funny though, because we've actually reached a stage in like football society now where it's like, if someone that does hate Ronaldo, you can just assume they're a Messi fan, and you're probably right. But Jordan, I'll come to you. Are you thinking on the similar lines? Would it be efficiency? Would it be control, or do you have something else that maybe we haven't quite thought of?
My word is going to be consistency. I feel like if we
Good choice.
Yeah, where we've under Ollie, where we've jumped about in these runner games and whatnot. If we consistent performances through this run of the fixtures, there's no reason why we can't go on a 10-game unbeaten run before we go and play Man City, and that then fills us with confidence. Transfer window opens if we want to do any business. I'd like us to do some bits. But let's just be consistent with our performances, and we will be comfortably in that top 4 and into the next stage of the FA Cup as well.
I'll come to you then, Alex.
The main word I'd love to hear would be dominance, because if you look at Chelsea, City and Liverpool, they so often they dominate teams, and I feel like it's something that's been lacking with us. Like you see these teams that, like how Arsenal have gone on that. I know they got smashed by Liverpool and then obviously beaten by us, but they were beating the teams that you would expect them to beat, and that's something I find like since Fergie, it's something we've really, really struggled with across all these managers, that we go against these teams that like. Even under Ollie, like when we went on that run of like we lost, like was it last season? Yeah, we lost like 2 or 3 in like the first 2 months, and then we didn't lose all season. Then we come up against like Sheffield United at home and then lose again. And it's like the top teams don't do that. So I just want us to start like dominate games, win the games that we are expected to win. And like we have the players that we should be able to beat any team in the league. And like you saw against Chelsea, it was just one Bissaka mess up away from us winning, or if Fred capitalised on that Mendy mistake. It's like we can beat any team in the league if we play to our best. And it's like, okay, on any given day you can lose to City, Chelsea or Liverpool, but we shouldn't be losing with the players we have to these lesser teams, and we should just go, like, obviously we're not going to win 10 in a row, but like what Jordan was saying about with these games, we shouldn't really be losing them. So as long as we get like maximum points, because we really need to start capitalizing on this, because we've given everyone else such a massive head start, and it's so annoying with how optimistic everyone was at the start of the season, and I was thinking we were going to challenge for the league, but when we're now 12 points, 9 points behind, it does seem like a big ask. But I feel like if we go on a good run of games, by the time we get to March, you don't know what happens. Like we could be within, like, let's say we did amazing and like the other teams dropped points, we could be saved like 6 points behind or something, and then who knows what can happen. Like we've got
a really good run of games coming up as well.
Exactly.
On paper.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's like don't get me wrong, we've played shit and we lost to like teams like Watford as well, that teams we should be beating anyway. But we did have a really bad run of games, how we played all the good teams like one after the other. So now we have on paper like a run of games that we should get, like not maximum points, but we shouldn't drop many points at all. So who knows where we're going to be in March, and hopefully we can still grab a good season out of this.
Yeah, I think there's definitely potential for that. I think it was key for us to be able to actually get this result. You know, considering West Ham picked up a result and some of the other teams who we are going to be in contention with for a top 4 spot, you know, got some good results. Look, when it comes to the Young Boys game, I think a lot of people sort of see that game as a write-off. I don't necessarily think so, right? Because, you know, there'll be plenty of opportunity to test things and to see what works or what doesn't. But when we look ahead at that sort of Norwich game, you know, it is an example of one of the fixtures we have now that probably is going to be a bit easier per se. Norwich haven't been amazing this season. Look, what are now the next steps? He's only had one real training session. He'll have a couple more, hopefully, by that point. And so if within one, he was able to get that first half performance, you know, who knows what we can improve and work on, you know, with a couple more. I'll come to you, Jordan. What are the next steps for you now moving forward? There were reports that, you know, his coaching staff, he might be able to bring a couple more people in now. What now has to be the next couple of things in the weeks leading after this result?
Yeah, I think he himself needs to surround himself by his people he trusts. You know, I think that's really, really important. People he knows that will work and all pull in the same direction. What you don't want is people from the old regime around him. He's trying to implement new ideas, but they're sort of stuck in their ways. So I'd like to see people come in, not necessarily players, but people in his team, if that makes sense. He seems to be very keen on the whole video analysis and the whole. I read today about is it like a mental coach is coming in and stuff. Yeah. So it's because of the amount of games that we've got. It's about the work we can do away from the training pitch, and all these type of things will be able to be done not in a classroom, but in a room or at home. They'll be able to look. So that's ways of obviously training, but training away from the pitch. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see who comes in and also who leaves. You know, I think we're still sat on a lot of Ollie's old team. I don't know if anyone's going to leave as more bodies come in, you know?
Yeah, I think you actually make a great point. And I'll come to you, Jay, because what a lot of people don't realize, and somebody in chat mentioned it earlier, and I thought they made a great point, but ultimately, Rangnick's come into a situation where he's not familiar with everything. Yeah, he said he's watched a couple games, right? But the reality is any manager that comes into a job will get advice from the current staff, right? And I'm sure he's had to lean on McKenna and Phelan and some of the other people, Fletcher, for example, quite a lot, because obviously, you know, he's not had much time. And so it feels weird to say this, but those guys would have had, you know, some influence in some of the things we've seen in this past game. What now has to be the next sort of couple steps for you?
Well, look, not only is it a learning curve for the players, it's also a massive learning curve for Rangnick as well. Look, I know he's a student of English football. He studied at Brighton University, and that's where he did his degree. But for him to come into a club with the magnitude of Manchester United, he's learning as well. He's learning the the internal relationships between various coaches and the players. He's learning a new corporate dynamic that he hasn't worked with before. So for Rangnick as well, it's a very steep learning curve. But I think we've seen enough today in the first 30 minutes that the players are already buying into his philosophy. We're not, and I said in previous shows, we're not going to see the full Rangnick brand of football until probably late January, early February. So it's learning curve for everybody. What I want to see in the next game and against Norwich, I suppose I want to see faster transitions between that midfield pivot and attack. Obviously today, the last 20 minutes, yeah, we did get sloppy because we literally ran out of legs. But that's just testament to the guys adapting to a new philosophy. Changes personnel-wise, the very fact that Rashford still started today, Maguire started, Mctominay started, I think that's still a hallmark of the culture of the club and a hallmark of the pre-existing coaches. But in the fullness of time, I think that will slowly erode as Rangnick has his own people around them with their own ideas. And I said in another show as well that the 11 that he starts with today would be unrecognizable to what we're going to see when we play Champions League football in February. It's a learning curve for everybody, I think.
Yeah, I'd really hope so as well. And I think that is probably the direction we're going in. I really just want to, because ultimately today's just like, it was a bit safe in terms of like, because we won last game, he didn't really make any changes, blah, blah, blah. Makes sense. But like, I really want to see when he does start making changes, like, who is it? That's just like, not really involved. Like, that is really exciting in terms of that. Again, thank you for all the super chats. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Kev, I'll come to you. Look, we obviously know that there is going to be changes being made and he wants to bring in his own people and whatnot. And there is an element of influence still from the current setup. Do you maybe have any worries going forward now after the result? Is there anything that you hope we don't see more of, going into that sort of Norwich game now?
I would probably say I wouldn't want to see, well, on current form, McTominay, Rashford was all right in the first half today. Again, I think it's just about getting the blend right. But at the risk of repeating myself, I think the likes of Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka really, this is probably the rocket up the arse that they need at Manchester United. And it will really, in football, in any walk of life, even if you work in a call centre or whatever, if you're trying to get sales or whatever, if you're involved in that kind of thing, you need people behind you that are pushing you and driving you forward. The minute you start standing still and taking your place in that team for granted is the time that you ultimately stand still and fall behind. Standards drop, and that's what has happened at Manchester United. Any great team usually has two very good players for each position, and we're working towards that. I still know that obviously the midfield area is the main one that we need to address, but we have to get through this season. Who would be available in January? Be very difficult to get somebody in unless Rangnick's got somebody in mind that he wants to bring in. But I think it's nothing but positivity today. To see that team sheet, who went out, we've got players now fighting for places, and that's how it should be. Players should be looking over the shoulder. The likes of Wan-Bissaka and Shaw now should be going, shit, I need to up my game now. And in fairness, Luke Shaw did do it when United signed Tellez. But for me, missing out on Trippier and not going for him in the summer, maybe Wan-Bissaka just thought, well, and he always walks in at right back. I like him as a footballer, but he certainly needs to up his game. And today, one of the main positives was Dalot. And I think he's definitely giving him something to think about here, big time. And that is a good thing. That is not a bad thing in sport. You need competition for places.
And I think people forget Dalot's still incredibly young. Isn't Dalot like just like 22,
like 21,
21?
22.
Yeah, like he's
older.
still he still is very, very young, and he's got a long career ahead of him. Look, I don't know if we're gonna see. I don't know when we're gonna next be on because we've got like the midweek fixtures. It's all weird or whatever. But I do want to get some score predictions for the Young Boys game. Of course, we sort of don't have a clue who will play. We don't know what approach he'll go. Maybe he will try and play what he thinks is his best lineup because he wants them to get more time to gel with each other in his new system. Maybe he just plays people who maybe deserve a chance and he wants to give them a run out. We're not too sure yet, but I will come to all of you and ask you for a premature score prediction per se. Alex, I'll start with you. What are you thinking for the Young Boys game?
I think it would be suicide to play our first team in the Young Boy game, simply because it's December. You have so many games coming up that you can't afford to risk first teamers, I don't think. So I'll go with a 2-1 win, but I'm expecting like a really young team, like maybe like a front three of like Elanga, Greenwood, Ahmad, just so we can see like what some of these players are about and to just test things.
Jordan?
Yeah, I agree. I really don't want to see a lot of the first teamers. I think this is a chance for us to rest certain players. I want to see youth. I want to see players like a Van der Beek get a chance to start, and let's see what it's about. Ahmad, Elanga, let's get these boys in there. Let's see what they're about. I still think we will win. I think any of those players in and around the first team should have enough to beat Young Boys. I will go 2-1.
2-1. I like that. Jay?
Look, it's certainly very, very premature to be asking for a score prediction for a game that's starting Wednesday. So I'm going to play it safe and go with a 2-0.
2-0. Okay. You messed me up here, Alex, because you've moved. So I was about to go Alex
I
again.
know, it always cuts out, sorry.
It is. Kev, what are you thinking about that Young Boys game?
Got to totally agree with Jay. Although it's very difficult to call because you don't know what team he's going to put out, I'll say 2-0. I will also... Who is Zaid Miasse? Can we just comment on this very quickly? Do we think he is like a celebrity or a footballer, or does he literally just take his mum's credit card?
It's Wenger.
Arsene Wenger.
Wenger.
Hey, Alex. Sorry,
he has
totally
the
off
money
topic
and
here.
Arsenal propaganda.
Totally off topic. I was going to say the comment section again. I'm looking. This is how quick somebody was before. You put your jacket on before and zipped it up and said, somebody just straight away in the comment section said, Alex needs to put his heating on. And I was like, this comment
it is on and it's
deadly,
still
isn't it?
They're too quick. They are too quick. Somebody in chat said Saudi Prince. I wouldn't be surprised if, there's all money there when it comes to Zaid Miasse. He's got, I don't know, man. But we appreciate all the support.
Yeah.
And thank you for everyone that's, giving a super chat, join the members club, and just subscribe to the channel and watch all the way up to this point. We appreciate you all. We will be back soon. I think there are some fan vlogs coming out. I know someone in chat was like, we want Beth. She will have a fan vlog up on the channel very, very soon. And I think Mark's got a breakdown coming along tonight as well. I appreciate all you guys for joining me here on the panel. Where can the people find you? I'll start with you, Jordan.
At Jordan Valleys UK, Insta at Jordan Valleys, Twitter.
Kev?
Yeah. At Kevin Ashford 7, that's Twitter and Instagram, and search Man United Van Cam on YouTube if you want to check that out. Thank you very much.
Jay, where can the people find you?
At JDailyUTD on the gram and on Twitter.
And then last but not least, Alex.
At AA_UTD on Twitter and Instagram.
Yes, of course. You can catch me at 112K on all social media. Be sure to like the video as well if you haven't already. Appreciate you guys all. See you guys all soon.